to Facebook and YouTube Live. I will be joining X on the other camera in just a second if you're joining me right now for day 216 of my living experiment. And we will be talking about what's up in the Free State, and I will be telling some crazy stories as I always do. All right, so now I'm going to go live over here. And bear with me, hopefully between all of these, this will work. Hey, guys. Hi, X Live. I'm also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. So trying new things with some new camera angles. So we'll see how this one goes. Thank you all for joining me. How's your Monday been going? Good? Good? My Monday's been a Monday, I will tell you that much, but rather be busy than not busy. I'm clinging to this in case someone doesn't know what this is. These are the bouncy balls that you put in your laundry if you're not using the dryer sheets anymore, which frankly no one should be doing. But if you are not, these you can find everywhere. But I have one in my hand so that I can remember to switch on the laundry when I'm leaving down here, because otherwise I will likely forget. So thank you all for joining me for today. Today is day 216 of my living experiment. That is where for 216 days straight, I have jumped on X Live to come talk to you guys about what life in the Free State is like, what my life is like, wisdoms I've learned over the years, and just sort of, trying to keep everyone on the cutting edge here, because, some of us are about 20 years early for most things. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I'm going to write an essay about the bane of being too early, because that feels like that is the story of my life. And what am I too early on now, you might ask? I will tell you what. On consciousness. It's going to take a while, but I think we're going to get there. All right. So I was wondering, and maybe someone can tell me, because maybe this could be a learning experience for myself, but I've done 216 of these in a row, which actually is not easy. And I was thinking as I was walking down here, I was like, should I just fail with this sometimes? Like, is just setting your mind to something and then just like doing it, is that like, maybe that's not the right approach? I think people like to see people struggle, and they don't actually want to see you simply set your mind to something and then carry on, right? Like, because basically I started doing these so that I could learn not to procrastinate, right? Like, you can so get in your head. And I was like, no, I'm going to use this as a tool, as a daily habit building tool. And I have. But then as I was thinking about this, like, would it be better to fail so that people would find it more attractive, I suppose, is what I'm really saying. I realized, oh, this is actually a pattern in my life. And so if this resonates with you, you might want to think about what are the patterns in your life that you perhaps developed as a child that you are now still bringing to your adult life, right? So if you, by way of example, have, certain situations where you just get entirely dysregulated, there's something there you should be looking at. And so I realized, I said, oh, would it be better if I failed? And then I was like, actually, when I was in school, I was actually exceptionally sporty and quite good at it. And I was like squash captain and tennis captain and hockey captain. And I did athletics. I did some cheerleading, like the whole thing, right? And I actually remember, so squash, for people who don't know, is kind of like posh racquetball, I suppose, is the way to explain it. But it's one of the few sports where you can actually, men and women can compete fairly equally. And like, I was good, like I was boy good, you know what I mean? I could beat the boys of my peers. And so when I played against the woman, I would just trash him. And I started to hold back literally when I was playing with them because I felt so guilty. And I was thinking about that today, where it's like, why would we behave this way, right? Like, why would you actually hold back your natural talents to appease other people, to appease the part of your brain that says you're not good enough? Like, that's a really weird thing to do. And the reason I remember it is because my parents, who lived on a different continent, and I was in South Africa in boarding school, had given me a Swatch watch, which I guess at the time was like the thing, right? And it was a little too loose for me. And so when I would play, I would, score a point, and I'd know, this is just going to be a massacre, but I would score a point and then I'd feel self-conscious and I'd like shake my arm and I'd look at my watch. So much so that several umpires were like, "Do you have somewhere to be?" And I thought, "Oh, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is physically manifesting a tick because I feel self-conscious because I am winning or beating this other person." And and the umpire thought I was being haughty and sort of like, "Oh, I got things to do. Can we get this like massacre over?" So I'm not really sure why I'm telling this story other than um, I think we all have these things from our youths, from when we were little, that like your brain a little scrambled your brain in your unique way. And it behooves all of us who are trying to be better humans to go find those things and figure out why your brain is scrambled and how you can unscramble that particular loop. So when I was going, "Oh, I should like stop doing these because, then maybe if I suck at it, then people will be like, oh, maybe I should watch to see if she's going to struggle to get back on." I struggle every day. I just choose not to show it to you. How about that? All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about, oh, why was I doing laundry? This is ridiculous. I'm doing laundry because my clothes smelled so bad after I had to go deadlift, and I mean dead fucking lift. My cerebral palsy neighbor who fell and she called, and there was no one else on the cul-de-sac. Louis was at the office. The other guys are working. Brink, who's big and strong and could have helped, was working. And I was working too, but I happened to work from home. And so I will tell you guys, there's a lot of cat in that house, and I just I got back and I was like, I did not like the way I smelled, but I did get her up and into a chair. Uh, and I feel pretty good about that. It also reminded me I do need to go start lifting more at the gym, because if I'm expected to do these things, then I got to stay fit, which we should all be trying to do. All right, what's coming up in the Free State this week? If you live here, you pretty much know the drill by now. If you don't live here and you want to get a taste of what's up in the Free State, this one's for you. I will say the following. You can always go to fsp.org/calendar. Also, sign up for the Free State Project's newsletter. The newsletter goes out, one goes out Sunday night, telling everyone what's coming up this week. In fact, it is my crib sheet for these ones. And then there is a regular newsletter from the executive director, Eric Brakey. There are little things that go out of something, out of the ordinary is happening. I will say the two that I wanted to highlight for this week, that are sort of different to the regular scheduling, as they say, is on Friday, August 8th. So that's next Friday, when many of us will be on an airplane flying to Texas to go say hi to Ron Paul for his 80th, 90th birthday. But here in the Free State, Friday, August 8th, at Hampton from 6 to 8:30, there is the Free State Musicians Meetup at the One Chord Studios. And that is in Hampton. It's hosted by Billy Bite Smith. 6 to 8:30 p.m. on Friday. On Sunday in Ossipee, where I was just over the weekend because I was showing a house or viewing a house and literally drove past this restaurant, by the way. So 12 to 2 on Sunday, August 10th at the Ossipee Porcupines Meetup. That's at Harley Jack's. And that's hosted by Tim Bowman. And it's funny because Harley Jack's has a sign outside that said it was the best burgers in New Hampshire. And I actually told my car note taker to take a note because I was like, I'm going to go taste those hamburgers and let all of you know whether it was truly the most delicious hamburgers in New Hampshire. And then the other one that doesn't always kind of take place, which is also taking place on Sunday in Stratford at the Independence Inn, hosted by Dennis Pratt. That is Porcupines in Action, and that is where people meet up to find out what other porcupines are working on, how projects can advance, cheer other people on, inquire, see if there's overlap, all that good stuff. Also, because their hamburgers are delicious, and I can attest to that because I cheated up with one not too long ago when they had their soft opening, is Sarah and Tyler, who have taken over running the Independence Inn day to day. And they just have opened their restaurant for breakfast and lunch. They are hospitality folks out of California, fairly recent movers. And honestly, the food I had at the soft opening was really good, like better than average New Hampshire, good, like New York good is what I'm trying to say. It was like good, not New Hampshire good. Sorry, New Hampshire, but I'm sorry. The food here sucks. All right, that's not entirely true, but many of us learn how to cook at home with ingredients so that, of course, you can control what you're actually nourishing your body with. All right, so now here's the quick rundown. Monday, tonight, 6 to 8 p.m., so starting in less than an hour, there is the Liberty and Cigar Meetup. That is Liberty and Cigars Monthly, hosted by Sarah Faber at the Twin Smoke Shop on Perkins Road in Londonderry. Tuesday, as there always is, we've got Tap Room Tuesday at Murphy's. That is hosted by the awesome Bill and Gail Domenico, who have been doing this for so long, I am embarrassed to even say. And then in Henniker, 5:30 to 7:30, there's a men's circle. That's a monthly gathering of brothers, fathers, and sons sharing counsel. There's an $11 suggested donation for that one, hosted by Alex and at Rooted Free on Hillsborough Road in Henniker. All right, Wednesday, what happens every Wednesday? Everyone should know by now. It's the Pork Report. That is where Free State Project Executive Director Eric Brakey sits down to interview the movers and shakers of New Hampshire, and that you can watch live on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, what should you do? Do that. All right, Thursday, Seabrook Breakfast. That is hosted by Jude at Linda's Breakfast and Lunch Place. It's the weekly Patriot breakfast, 8 to 9 a.m. Lancaster, 6 to 8 p.m. This is at the Pine Clubhouse. So this is the latest clubhouse that has been opened by illustrious Free Staters there in the North Country. So 6 to 8 p.m. North Country open mic and jam with the Hat Guy. So that sounds like a good time. The Pine Clubhouse is on the second floor on Main Street, just above the Daily Grind. Dover, also Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. Dover Liberty Outreach. That one is hosted by Sarah Scott at Omnium Brewery in Somerworth. Manchester, also Thursday, 6:30 to 7:30. There is a Manchester monthly shoot. This is recurring every first Thursday in Manchester. Regular rate is $25. Use promo code #FSP5 for a $5 discount. See, worth watching the show just for that. You could save $5 and go pew pew. That is at Manchester Firing Line Range on Brown Ave near the mall in Manchester. All right, I already mentioned The Friday one, Hampton, 6 to 8:30. That is the musicians at One Accord Studios. Saturday, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events. 6 events on Saturday, and then 5 on Sunday, and then we shall depart for this one. Saturday, August 9th, Leominster, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is Ivan's Pistol Fundamentals. That's develop a solid foundation with our Pistol Fundamentals course hosted by Ivan. So that is 9 to 1 p.m. in Leominster. In Portsmouth, noon to 3 p.m. Seacoast Cryptocurrency Meetup. Chat crypto, learn more, figure out how to use it, and of course, buy your food and drinks. Hosted by Joelle Valenzuela, and that one is at La Maison Navarre. I feel like I said all of that wrong, but it's on Congress Street in Portsmouth. And if I'm going too fast for anyone, you can find all this information at fsp.org/calendar, or sign up for the Free State Project newsletter at fsp.org and scroll down a little. All right, in Keene, noon to 6 p.m. is Monadnock Market Day. That is come network with Liberty lovers and support local vendors. That's near Keene, hosted by Nick Steckley. That's at Liberty Tree Farm in Westmoreland. Lancaster, 12 to 5 p.m. is North Country Game Day Potluck. Bring your favorite board, card games, and a dish to share, and hosted by Amy Norris, who is taking the lead in Porkfest for next year, and that will be at the Pine Clubhouse in Lancaster. Madison, New Hampshire, 4 to 6 p.m. is the Carroll County Freedom Potluck. There's so many people in so many areas. It's amazing. So basically, if you're not living here yet, what you should be hearing is, oh, wow, I can move to an area, and I don't like, in the olden days when I moved and when the sort of first wave came, we drove like 2 hours for a potluck, and there were 2 a month if you were lucky, kind of thing, because we were so sparsely populated and there were so few of us relative to now. And so it's great to see all of these local things happening. So Madison, 4 to 6 p.m. Carroll County Freedom Potluck, monthly meetup in your area. Come say hi. That's hosted by Mark and Michelle. Grafton, from 4 to 7 p.m. is the Grafton Potluck, and that is Free Staters and friends meet every second Saturday. Call Rich for details and location at I'm going to assume the number is listed on the website, so go grab it there if you want it. Sunday, August 10th, when we will be flying back from Texas from Ron Paul's Ron Paul's 90th birthday, which many Free Staters are flying to go attend. There was a really big original wave of Ron Paulians who moved here way back. I mean, I voted for Ron Paul in a primary in New York City in 2000, it must have been 7 if it was the primary, I think, right before I moved in February 2008. And no one had ever in that polling area voted for a Republican. In fact, they did not know how to switch the machine. Like, they had to bring in some expert to come do it. And so there are many of us who moved over the years. And of course, Rand, now his son, is kind of, doing the big Liberty Renaissance together with Massey, the people who stay principled. So we'll be coming back from Texas on Sunday, but all of you will be doing the following. Lancaster, 10 to 11, North Country Sunday Yoga and Pilates. That's also Amy Norris. I am going to make a note to tell Amy Norris to pace herself so that she doesn't burn out. That's always great to see when people get so enthused. And it's free for the Pine members, but $5 donation for non-members. Ossipee, we have the Ossipee Porcupines meetup. I mentioned that earlier with Tim Bauman at the Harley Jacks, that claims to have the best hamburgers, but I'm throwing my hat in the ring for the Independence Inn having the best local hamburgers. All right, in Candia, 1:15 to 3:15 is the Garnet School Ruck and Shoot. That is where a bunch of people get together with heavy packs and kind of do a little um, hike with water bottles and all that good stuff. You could, bring a rifle to carry, and it's a 2-mile hike that's hosted by Baxter Tidwell, and it's at the Garnet School, which is at 456 Critchett Road in Candia. Manchester, on Sundays, we always have the crypto meetup. That is from 5 to 7:30 p.m. at Manchester at Strange Brew Tavern. That is hosted by my broker, Matt Ping of Ledgeview Commercial. So that's always good. We here, between me and him, I work for Porcupine Real Estate. Mark Warden is also a broker at Porcupine Real Estate. Matt has been long working on Bitcoin transactions. Mark was probably the first person, at least in New Hampshire, but if not one of the first in America, that actually did a real estate transaction for crypto. And we're trying to figure out good and legal ways to get more crypto enthusiasts, one, to New Hampshire, because we're going to legalize SMRs and then we're going to print money. I'm kidding, but kind of. But SMRs, crypto. Anyway, but we are trying to figure out genuine ways to help people with crypto come by real estate in the Great Free State. Also on Sundays in Keene, the longest running social meetup, that is Keene Social Sunday. That one's hosted by Chris Wade. That's at the local burger on Main Street in Keene. And then again, last but not least, I did say it at the top of the hour, was Stratford, 6 to 8 p.m., Porcupines in Action, hosted by Dennis Pratt, and where the good hamburgers are. But I don't think they cook at night, so don't go there for the hamburgers for this particular event, although I stand to be corrected. And perhaps if someone is watching this and they're like, Carla, you're wrong, because our people really like to tell you when they think you're wrong. I will correct it on one of the other MLXs this week. All right, what's going on this week for me? Got a couple of inspections. I've got to drive down to Boston for the Brownstone Institute Supper Club, which is taking place tomorrow evening. Then I have some board meetings and, work calls and nonprofit calls and those kinds of things. And then leaving for Texas on Friday, coming back on Sunday, batch cooking so that Louie has some food for both lunch and dinners, that kind of thing, being a good wife. So all of that stuff is happening. I hope everyone has a well-planned week ahead of them as well. Part of my shtick is trying to help everyone level up by becoming your best self. And a lot of that actually involves writing things down so that you are aware of them. I know everyone thinks they're aware of things because they're ruminating in your brain. That is not the way to go. What you want to do is you want to become more conscious faster, and that involves being as healthy as possible. What does that mean? That means making good choices for your health and instilling good habits in your life so that you too could get on the television for 216 days straight, because I would not be able to have done this if I was still drinking. So there you have it. Just another great reason to ditch alcohol, which is a neurotoxin and a depressant. So if you're anxious and annoyed and angry and kind of an asshole, stop drinking. All right, that's what I got for today, guys. Peace out. And to all of you here, thank you for joining me here as well. I will be back here again tomorrow. Thanks for being here. Take care, guys. Peace out.